Benjo Guatsi, everybody. My name is Erin Wise, and I am the Communications and Digital Director and IICCI Co-Director from Seeding Sovereignty. And I'm so excited today. We're going to be welcoming our board member and esteemed sister, Linda Black Elk, to join us here in a couple of minutes. So if you give me one moment, I'm going to bring her on, and she's going to talk to y'all a little bit about food sovereignty, the upcoming so-called holiday, and what the work she's doing looks like right now in Oceti Sakowin territory. So if you give me one moment, I'll invite Linda. Hi.
Hi. See here, you gotta get in a little closer there.
I don't know if you can be on your side like that.
Can we be on our side like this, or am I upside down for you guys?
I think you're on your side. It looks a little bit better like that, if you can have it sitting like that. Hi, Luke.
Yeah, totally. Hi,
wow,
everybody.
your background's just sacred and special. I just let everybody know that you are one of our board members and that you're going to be sharing a little bit. So I don't want to take away from your introduction, sis, but I am happy to have you here and happy to see you too, Luke, and all your meat.
All that meat.
Right.
I have more than just meat.
Can't handle it.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited.
Yeah, awesome. I'll let you take it away, sis.
Okay, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Black Elk, like my sis is saying. I'm an ethnobotanist and a food sovereignty activist. I teach at United Tribes Technical College, which is a tribal college up in Bismarck, North Dakota, on the traditional homelands of the Oceti Sakowin, the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara peoples, and also the traditional homeland of the Nueta, Hidatsa, and Sanish peoples. And yeah, so happy to be here and so happy to talk to you guys a little bit about food sovereignty. And we actually have some food right here in front of us that you can't see yet. Okay, but we're going to kind of be putting it together, something super simple with traditional ingredients that we just wanted to share with you all. So what is food sovereignty? I suppose we could like start off talking about that a little bit. Honey, what is food sovereignty?
The ability to feed yourself and your people, right?
Right. And I think personally, and I think we agree on this, it goes beyond calories, right? It goes beyond calories. Like you can get lots of calories from canned soup and, crackers. But is that food sovereignty? No, technically that's food security, right? Like his favorite thing in the world, crackers. Food sovereignty goes far beyond food security, right? It's not just being able to feed yourself, it's being able to feed yourself amazing food, right? Traditional foods that will nourish you, not just physically, not just give you calories, but food that will nourish you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally as well, right? And so we, like in our house, we talk a lot about medicinal food. We talk a lot about that connection between food and medicine, and about how food is medicine. But that term gets thrown around so much now, right? Everyone says, oh, food is medicine, food is medicine. But what does that really mean? So for me, as an ethnobotanist and someone who teaches food sovereignty and indigenous food sovereignty, it goes far beyond that. I really, I put a lot of actual things that people consider medicine into my food. And like the dish we're gonna make today has all sorts of medicines in it, right? And medicines that are great lung support, which I think is so important right now during this pandemic. But also things that just in general help to boost your immune system. So I suppose we could like start talking about the dish if we wanted. and I will send a specific recipe out to my sis that she can post. Okay. So if you guys are wondering about exact measurements and amounts, don't worry, we'll post that pretty soon. Okay. So today we're going to make just a simple wild rice and turkey dish. a lot of you might not know, but turkeys are indigenous to what is now North America. And they're a really important food source. And I don't know why, but I saw some people talking online the other day and they were saying no one really likes turkey. I freaking love turkey. I love turkey so much. I think it's, you know, such an amazing food source. And there's actually a lot of medicine in turkey. You guys have all heard of tryptophan, which is a sleeping aid, right? So if you eat turkey, you can actually, it can help you rest. Which I think is really nice, those little sedative properties. And so, you know, hey, food that can actually help you relax a little is always good. I'm so glad to hear that you guys love turkey. That's so good. But we're gonna make like a wild rice and turkey dish. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about ingredients first. Wild rice, Zizania palestris or Zizania aquatica. There's a couple species. I know I'm super nerdy with my scientific names, but I love that stuff. Menumen, if you're Anishinaabe, menumen, or some variation thereof. And if you're Lakota, Dakota, part of the Oceti Sakowin, it's psin. And I don't know any other indigenous names for it, do you? No, he probably only knew the Lakota one. He's so Lakota centric.
There's other kinds of Indians?
You're going to start a big old fight on our page.
Oh, I know. We love everybody.
Just kidding, I know this.
We love everyone. So, oh my God, I didn't even let you introduce yourself.
I'm Linda's husband.
Yes, Mrs. Black Elk.
Oh my God, Mr. Black Elk and Mrs. No, I'm so sorry. This is my husband, my partner, my friend, my best friend in the whole world. Luke Black Elk, is his Lakota name. It's true though. Go ahead, dear. Why don't you tell people about yourself?
I'm from Cheyenne River. My mom is Candace Duchesneau. My dad is Nathan Black Elk. And this is my wife, my friend, the mother of my child. And we have children running around here somewhere, but luckily they're being quiet. So
for now, we'll see how long that lasts. He misses you, by the way, Aaron.
Oh, I miss all of them so much. They're probably now.
Okay, so back to wild rice.
Yeah, back to Menumen.
Back to Menumen. So Menumen is an amazing grain, sort of. It's a grass that grows in water, right? And so traditionally, when people collect wild rice, they are in canoes. And the wild rice is so tall all around you. Have any of you guys ever been ricing? Because it's like super fun and amazing and just like a fantastic experience. And so the rice is super tall all around you, and you have someone steering the canoe with a long pole. And then you have someone else in the canoe with 2 knocking sticks. Oh, mine are at my office. Otherwise I'd show you guys. And you gently bend the rice over, gently, right? The traditional way of collecting wild rice is such a reciprocal relationship, such an amazing ceremony with which you are being respectful to the plant, and the plant is feeding you, but at the same time, you're also helping to replant the rice. So you gently pull the rice over with 1 stick and tap, tap, gently knock some of the rice into the canoe. And what inevitably happens, anyone who's been ricing here knows what I'm talking about. What inevitably happens when you knock some of the rice into your canoe? The rice sort of goes flying everywhere, and some of it actually ends up going out of the canoe. And that's a beautiful thing, because you're actually serving as an agent of replanting that rice. And so when people talk about, like one problem I have with national parks is that they constantly talk about removing people from the equation, right? Oh, I like that better. They talk about removing people from the equation, removing human beings from the equation, not even acknowledging the fact that we are part of the system. If we're doing things right, we are as much a part of the system as the birds or the worms who eat the rice and then spread the rice around. we should be agents of distribution and replanting and reciprocity, right? We should not separate ourselves from that system. So it's really important when you go ricing to think about, you know, the ceremony behind that and the replanting of the rice and your relationship to it. So the rice falls into the canoe, and of course, then you take it back and you parch it over a fire. And then you dance on the rice, you wear your soft moccasins, and you move your feet to remove the coverings on each rice grain. And then you winnow it and get all the extra stuff off. So, and you're left with beautiful wild rice. And I have to tell you guys that my husband made the rice today. And if there's any Anishinaabes watching today, I apologize because the rice is overcooked, but we're going to eat it anyway. That's another thing too.
It's been a couple hundred years since we lived in ricing country.
Oh.
That's his excuse. Okay, let me tell you.
It's really hard to mess up Teamsula.
Oh yeah, that's true. You can't overcook tipsila. Oh, that's actually a really interesting. Can you kind of grab one of those braids and pull it around you? So tipsila, which is a traditional food of the prairies, it's a tuber. Listen to that name, right? So if you've never had this, it's Pediomelum esculentum, also known as breadroot, right? Also known as wild turnips, also known as prairie turnips. So listen to that Lakota name, tipsila, seeds, which is also the word for rice, right? And so some people say that this is like the rice of the prairie. That's how it got its name. So when the Dakota and Lakota started moving this way, they started to collect tipsila, and that sort of took over for wild rice, which I think that's an interesting little factoid there. But wild rice only grows in certain areas, right? And so, you know, it doesn't grow, it tends not to grow far south, and it tends not to grow far west. And there are people who actually are genetically modifying wild rice, or who are growing it in these huge patties, wild rice patties. And so it's basically, well, there is, people are trying to genetically modify rice, but there's also patty rice. And patty rice it cooks very differently. The flavor and texture are very different. So if you want real wild rice, you have to either go out and get it yourself, or you have to talk to people about, you know, talk to producers and people who have wild rice and have that be their living, who collect it. And there are wonderful Ojibwe producers, Anishinaabe producers, all the way. I know some in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and beyond. And so what I'm saying is that if you are going to purchase wild rice, please make sure you're doing that from someone who is reputable, someone who knows about the sacredness of that rice, knows how important it is still to Anishinaabe people, okay? And to people all over, to the Dakota, to the Lakota, because that's another bit of misinformation about wild rice. A lot of people think that it's just an Anishinaabe thing, but the Dakota have been collecting wild rice for many years, and the Lakota have been collecting wild rice along the Missouri River. Before it was flooded, wild rice would grow in abundance, and it was collected there. So it's important to so many people. So please, if you are purchasing rice, make sure that you're like the quote wild rice that they have in a lot of mega stores is not really wild rice, you know, even though it says that on the label. So the dish we're making for you today is really yummy, and we pretty much have it all cooked, okay, because we didn't want to like take you over to our stove and let you see the complete disaster that is our house right now. As some of you guys might know, Luke and I and our family have been making food kits for elders and other people in need throughout this pandemic since March. And so like our kids have to sit on boxes of beans if they want to watch TV. And we have like jars and cans lining our hallways. We have bags of wild rice everywhere. We have, you know, that we distribute to people, bags of hominy. And so we've been making these amazing food kits for people, and which of course have wild rice in them. So yeah, our house is crazy right now. But oh, and you can see behind us, in case you're wondering, we are drying meat. We have some deer meat and buffalo meat drying behind us. And of course we have some squash. Do you see that? The yellow stringy stuff? That's dried squash that's drying as well. And yes, we always need donations for our food kits. And I will have my sis post some information about that. Seeding Sovereignty actually really helped us a lot with a grant so that we could buy supplies for our food kits. But it's amazing when you're giving good traditional food to people and you want to pay native producers, indigenous producers what they're worth. It's hard to make money go really, really far because we're not giving people like, you know, bags of commodity cornmeal and blocks of lard and things like that. He loves lard.
Luke's just here for you to like have a wingman and someone to tease. It's okay. I love you too.
Okay. So, all right. So Lev, would you want to tell people since we want to hear from you too?
Wait, what am I saying?
No. Tell them the process. What did we do? What do we have here? I'm going to point our camera down.
Oh, here we have some carrots, onions, and then we put a little bit of bear root in there instead of celery, just to try to keep it a little more traditional.
Yeah.
Bear root's not usually something that most people cook with, but it has a very, very strong celery flavor that goes a long way if you're looking for something that's not celery but tastes like celery. Really good option. Plus, it's medicine. You know, and like they're saying, this is medicine food. This literally has medicine in it.
Where's the grinder, the mortar and pestle? So
everyone's coming for you in these comments. They're like, "Yo, lard is what's up."
Oh, well, just so you know, so our carrot, onion, and bear root mixture, I wish I could tell you guys that we use like buffalo fat, but we use bacon fat to fry that shit in. So, and it's fucking delicious. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry. It's okay. Anybody that follows this page probably knows how we talk, so it's okay.
So what we did with the bear root is we cut some off of this larger chunk and we put it in our mortar and used our pestle to grind some of that up with just a little bit of black pepper. And we added that to our onions and our carrots and we sauteed them until they were soft and just translucent. Okay. So in this pan, all we have in here, in a little bit of bacon grease is, and you can use anything you want. You can use a traditional fat if you want. Okay. If you have that. But we have cut carrots, chopped onion. Let me show you that again. Cut carrots, chopped onion, little bit of bear root, and a little bit of black pepper. We haven't salted our food yet. Sorry. We always wait till the end to salt our food, just because we have a real, so we have a real, like, we have another philosophy when it comes to food sovereignty. Everyone is so obsessed with everything being sweet or salty, right? That is sort of the Western way of eating and cooking. And so it's very important that we try to rethink that and start really appreciating the value, not just of bitter foods, but of foods that are not as salty, okay? So we try not to salt our food until the very end, okay? Now into this carrot, onion, and bear root mixture, we're gonna add a couple cups of cooked wild rice, okay? If you're in Anishinaabe, look away because the rice is overcooked, okay? Don't look. Okay, well, just pretend. You guys know how to make wild rice. Okay. So just add a couple cups of cooked wild rice. Do you wanna hold that? Okay.
Technical difficulty.
I'm so sorry. We're not used to Instagram Live.
No, it's okay. We appreciate y'all for making it work for us.
No problem. So here we're just tossing our cooked vegetables, and you can use whatever vegetables you want. Okay. You can use whatever vegetables you want. If you want to use, nope, right there. If you wanted to use some celery instead of bear root, you can. Okay, but we're making medicine food. If you wanted to put, gosh, some broccoli in here, you totally could. If you wanted to put some asparagus in here in the spring, oh my gosh, that would be delicious, right? So carrots, onions, bare root, and wild rice. And then we're gonna add our cooked turkey. We roasted a couple turkeys today. Notice that that's dark meat because y'all know I love my dark meat. As evidenced by my husband.
I was waiting for it. I was like, when does Luke get brought into this part of the conversation?
He said, I'm so glad I'm behind the camera. Okay, so here, okay, so all I have in here is my sauteed carrots and onion and bare root. And then I added my wild rice, cooked wild rice and cooked turkey. And now I'm gonna add some yummy stuff, whatever I want, okay? So like, oh God, they can see our messy kitchen. So, so to this, I'm gonna add some pumpkin seeds. And that's really high up. Let's put it down. So to this, I'm gonna add some pumpkin seeds. And you could use almonds if you wanted, like if you had almonds. It's high too, isn't it? You could add almonds, you could add slivered almonds, you could have pignons. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Pignon, wouldn't that be unbelievable? Toasted, like it adds a little crunch. But I just happen to have some gorgeous organic pumpkin seeds. So I'm gonna add some pumpkin seeds notice I'm cooking in cast iron because we love cast iron in this house. So I'm just gonna add, a couple little small handfuls of pumpkin seeds, okay? See the pumpkin seeds in there? And then I'm going to add some dried cranberries. And let me go on a little rant here about cranberries, okay? Just for a second. Please only buy organic cranberries, please, okay? Cranberries are soaked in and sprayed with numerous different herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides. And the thing is, those chemicals persist on the outside of the cranberry and even soak into the cranberry. So you know how they call them, you'll see lists every once in a while called like the dirty dozen. And it's like the dozen plants, plant foods that you should only buy organic. Cranberries are almost always on there because they really are really dirty when it comes to non-organic cranberries. That might be a slight privilege thing because organic cranberries are more expensive than fresh. But I'm telling you that if you're going to eat cranberries, it's one of those sacrifices that you should probably make, okay? So these are organic dried cranberries. Yes, we will definitely be posting this recipe. And the other thing is these are organic cranberries that have no added sugar, okay? Delicious. A lot of dried cranberries, dried blueberries, when they dry them, they add a ton of sugar to them, or they soak them in sugar when drying. And it's just not right because they're so sweet and delicious all on their own. When you dry cranberries, the sugars condense and it makes them so beautiful and sweet. If you don't like large chunks of cranberries in your food, you can chop it up. If you don't like cranberries at all, or you don't have access to organic ones, try some chopped organic green apple in here. That would be absolutely phenomenal. What other sweet thing could they put in? You could do dried blueberries if you have those. You could do dried plums, totally. You could even probably do some dried choke cherries or dried cherries in here if you had access to them, okay?
What are those choke cherry patty, like superfoods that you make called? I can never remember the name of them.
The dried patties, we make them into wasna.
Oh, that's what it is, wasna. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, no, they're so good. Yeah, we love them. Okay, so go ahead and make it down a little bit here. Okay, so I just want to remind you guys, in here we have our sauteed carrots and onion with a little bit of bare root. I'll talk about medicinal properties of all this in a second. Then we added our cooked wild rice, and we added our cooked turkey, and we added some pumpkin seeds and dried cranberries. And that's it, you guys. That's absolutely it. We did not toast these pumpkin seeds first. If you guys wanted to toast them, if you wanted to toast them, you absolutely could. That would be fantastic. It would give another dimension of flavor to them. Like I said, if you wanted, you guys, when you have cooked wild rice and cooked turkey, you could add anything to it and it'd be pretty darn good, right? All different kinds of stuff, and you're only limited by your imagination. I think it's so crazy because a lot of my students don't cook. They just don't cook at all. And they're always getting, you know, fast food. Whereas like whipping up turkey and wild rice, especially, I mean, what if you just use some cooked chicken that you just like one of those rotisserie chickens you got from the store? Like if you're looking to be really quick and easy, or if you live in a place where you don't really have a stove, like I have a lot of friends who live in efficiency apartments where they don't really have much of a stove. Just get a rotisserie chicken and you can make wild rice super easily on a hot plate. So, you know, very easy and you can add anything to it, super nutritious. Wild rice is actually great medicine. A lot of people don't think about the medicinal properties of wild rice, but they have blood sugar leveling properties. So they're great for people who are diabetic. Wild rice is also really good for the lining of your stomach. So if you're someone who's prone to ulcers, or if you're prone, even if you have H. pylori going on, consuming wild rice can really help to relieve the irritation caused by ulcers and stomach issues. Oh yes, and don't forget, right? A wild rice is totally gluten-free. So if you have celiacs, or if you're someone who chooses to eat gluten-free, wild rice is a fantastic option for you. The other thing is people who have Crohn's disease, which afflicts Native women like crazy. I'm so shocked at the number of women with a number of Native women with Crohn's disease. But if you have that, it goes back to our colonized diet, right? I mean, we all know that's what it is. But wild rice is really, really good for people with Crohn's because it coats the stomach and it's really good for that entire digestive tract, okay? So doesn't even need salt. Oh, Luke just sampled some by reaching his hand into the freaking pot. And he said, he said it doesn't even.
Before I did that.
Oh, you sanitized your hand?
Yeah.
Oh. So but yeah, he says it's delicious. Okay, so I'm gonna say a few names. I didn't ask permission, but I'm sure that well, they sell their wild rice pretty openly and have websites and things. So Dynamite Hill Farms, Jerry Jandrew and Katie are wonderful wild rice producers. Veronica Skinaway, she is an amazing, her wild rice is very well known. She's from the East Lake community in Minnesota. She's a wonderful source of wild rice. She's on Facebook. Also, I always say it wrong. Forgive me, my Ojibwe friends. Zibimidwang or Zibimidwang Farms over in Michigan. My friend Rosebud Schneider, she's a beautiful, wonderful Ojibwe woman. She's just the freaking shit. I mean, she just is. She's like 4 foot something tall, and she's just an incredible Indigenous farmer. But she also, along with having things like maple syrup, maple sugar, her farm has wild rice available as well. Zibimidwang, Zibimijwang, or something.
And we
like
can
that.
also write a lot of these at the end too.
Yeah.
If anybody has questions, we can make sure that we get them answered in text later on if we're not catching everything.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
If you can spell in Anishinaabe, maybe it'll save you from not saying it right.
Yes. That's great. We'll put their websites up. So that's 3 producers, and I know there are more, and I hope you guys don't get mad at me. But often the Indian Ag Council and Dan Cornelius, he often has wild rice that he gets because he has what's called the Native Foods Truck, Indigenous Foods Truck, and he will actually go around taking Indigenous foods to various communities. And so he always has access to things like wild rice and many other Indigenous foods. So if you get a hold of Dan Cornelius with the Indian Ag Council, you'll be able to have some amazing wild rice. Luke is trying to get the phone to stand up on its own. Okay, so I'm just going to go over, because I'm a teacher, right? And so what I have found is that when we're talking about food, and when we're talking about plants, repetition is really awesome for people. So I'm just going to tell you again what I put into this beautiful, awesome, look at that, freaking delicious dish. We started off by, don't reach your hand in there when it's on camera. We started off by sauteing carrots and onion until they were soft. We added a little bit of ground bare root, okay? Just a little pinch. I'm talking like a quarter of a teaspoon because bare root has a very, very strong flavor. If you don't have bare root, again, add some celery in there, okay? But bare root is a wonderful medicine. It's great lung support. It's wonderful for migraines. This is also known as OSHA, Ligusticum poteri. But here's the thing. If you are not Indigenous, I'm going to ask you a big favor here. Please leave bare root and OSHA for Indigenous people. It's becoming very quickly over harvested, and it needs to be harvested very sustainably. And so it would be a real shame if you had access to a lot of this by purchasing it, but Indigenous people didn't have access to one of their most traditional and sacred medicines. That would be a real shame, you know? So I'm asking you to leave this and maybe instead just use some celery or use some parsley. This is a member of the parsley family. It's totally related to a carrot, right? Carrot and celery are actually closely related to each other too. So there's lots of alternatives that you can use that are also really medicinal, right? Celery is medicine. You guys, there are medicinal properties to celery. So if you are not Indigenous, please leave bare root for Indigenous people. And that's just, thank you so much. But yeah, wonderful medicine for the lungs, great for migraines. Also, you know, just really good as an immune booster. Okay. And it's very safe medicine as well. Sorry, now he went and got a spoon so that he wouldn't be reaching his hand in there. Okay. And while I'm going over the ingredients, let me talk a little bit about medicinal properties. Do you all even realize how incredibly medicinal onions are? Onions, right? No one really thinks about onions because they're so common. But my mashke Ann White Hat, she's a herbalist down in northern Louisiana. Down in New Orleans, Louisiana. And she was talking about how down there they have had trouble finding lung support herbs. Come over here and say hi to Auntie real quick. Say hi, Auntie Erin. Oh, he has a mouthful of wild rice, but
his dad got his friend. Wikia. Hi.
Okay. So Ann White Hat was recently telling us that they had trouble finding herbs for lung congestion. And she said, so they just did a simple onion poultice in which they chopped the onion up, wrapped it in a piece of cloth, and placed it on people's chests. And this has been working particularly well for COVID. So she's been placing that on their chest to get rid of lung congestion and help open up bronchial passages. Simple onion, plain onion. Isn't that incredible? So she was talking about the medicinal benefits of onions for helping with lung congestion. But onions are also wonderful for helping to lower blood pressure. Onions are amazing to help thin blood a little bit, very gently, of course, but onions do thin blood. So if you're someone who's prone to blood clots, or if you're someone who maybe has some blockages in your arteries, onion is wonderful for that. And the same goes for garlic, right? Garlic is an incredible medicine. And we were going to put garlic in here and we just didn't have time, but you totally could. But chopped garlic, sauteed, is wonderful medicine. Again, great blood sugar regulator, really, really wonderful medicine. Garlic helps to lower blood pressure. Garlic helps to stabilize blood sugar. Garlic is a cleanser, right? So it's antimicrobial. If you put a piece of garlic in a petri dish that had a bunch of like stuff growing in it, you could actually kill some of the stuff in there with garlic because it's so antimicrobial, right? So, so garlic, amazing medicine. Carrots, of course, have really wonderful properties for the eyes. It's true. They have lots of beta carotene. I know that's like super old school to think about carrots and eyes, but it's true. as well as being a complex carbohydrate. So it's, you know, carrots are medicine as well. And then we also put, of course, pumpkin seeds in here, another complex carbohydrate. Cranberries have lots of amazing medicinal properties, and they're really high in vitamin C, so they help to prevent and treat infection.
Organic cranberries.
Organic cranberries.
Organic
Absolutely.
cranberries, yes.
Yeah, they prevent scurvy.
Well, in that case, thank you.
Arg.
Just gotta stay relevant back here.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Yep. I see someone on here talking about the Gather film. Gather has a couple of like my mentor and friend Twyla Cassador, who if you're not following her yet, you totally should. She's fantastic, a Apache woman who is bringing food sovereignty back to her people, and of course the amazing Indigenous chef Nephi Craig. You guys, like, if you're not following them, you totally should. Also, I want to say that the wild rice that is in this dish was actually hand harvested by moi. So very sustainably. I saw someone ask about wild rice being, you know, decreasing, and what I have to say about that is the Anishinaabe, who have wild rice in lots and lots of wild rice in their territories, they know how to harvest it in a good, sustainable way. I personally trust them to do that. And so if they are harvesting it and they are selling it in order to live and have a livelihood, I trust them to only harvest what they need to be able to make that living. Okay. And I would never say that anyone should judge them for that, because they know what they're doing. They love their rice. They love their rice as a relative. And so I trust that they know exactly the amount that they should and can be taking in order to maintain that reciprocal relationship.
I would just quickly interject too and just say that right now, some of the most pristine wild rice beds in North America are being jeopardized right now by Line 3. So if anybody is a huge supporter of wild rice, a lover of wild rice, an advocate for wild rice and just living waterways, y'all can write to Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan to let them know how y'all feel about major waterways being put in jeopardy for pipeline and extractive industry.
Thank you so much for saying that, sis. Yeah, we were over actually in Minnesota just 2 days ago, and it was crazy to us how there were tons of Trump signs, and right next to the Trump signs would be a pro Line 3 sign, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's so crazy how those things go together, and how that, you know, destructive rape of our Mother Earth is very much a political issue. You know, it's not just an emotional, you know, plea from people. It's a political agenda, the rape of our planet. So absolutely. Thank you for saying that. My dear, did you have anything to interject since I'm taking over?
No, you're doing awesome.
Yes. I'm like, pass me that spoon that Luke got.
I took a bite of turkey because I thought you'd talk, and now you're going to make me talk with my mouth.
I was going to get another bite. It's so good.
Okay. So what do you think about pipelines?
No, here, how about this? While you're chewing, I do genuinely, I saw a couple of questions in here that folks had brought up, and maybe I can just call attention to them. So while you take a bite, somebody had written that several people actually had written that they're vegans and that they don't use animal fats. And so I'm wondering, there are folks asking about sunflower oil, about olive oil. Is there anything that y'all cook with or that you would recommend as a replacement for those animal fats?
Yep, absolutely. So we definitely use a lot of plant-based oils in our household. Now, traditionally, there are very few plant-based fats, but there are some that have always been surprising to me, including acorn oil is actually traditional. And you can actually get that if you get some really good acorns, oily acorns. It's very easy to extract the fat just by toasting the acorns in a pan. It will coat the pan in a little layer of fat. It's kind of like, have you ever toasted pignons in a dry pan? Pignons, of course, come from a gymnosperm, with in English, like a conifer. A conifer. Thank you. Things with cones. Pignons come with, come from those trees mostly down in the southwestern United States. And they're the seed of that tree. And if you toast those in a pan, you'll notice that the pan has a little layer of fat as well. So if you were going to make, you vegans know how to cook, right? You guys totally know how to cook. You have to, because it's so hard to find food that you can eat that you haven't cooked yourself. So yes, and if you actually wanted to purchase bottles of acorn oil, which is a traditional food oil and it's sustainably harvested, Samuel Thayer, Thayer, he has a company called the Foragers Harvest. He's a wonderful person, and he hasn't always done the right thing, but he always tries to do the right thing, and he tries to correct himself when he's doing wrong. He's a non-native guy, and I just really have a lot of friendship and respect for him. So if you're interested in purchasing some acorn oil, check out his website. He has that for sale along with birch syrup, which is fantastic too.
I saw somebody else asked, where did it go here? Oh, they were questioning about your dried squash hanging up behind y'all, and how do y'all rehydrate and use those? I know that your dried squash was like a topic of conversation in every Indigenous household the second you posted it.
So this is, which one was this? Dried buttercup squash, okay? Oh no, this wasn't buttercup. Oh, this was a Lakota squash, okay? And so basically, this shows my not good cutting skills that day, because like this one, sorry, if we can get it here without bringing the whole rack down, why don't you get that? So dried squash is of course fantastic, and we love to spiralize it all in one big long piece and then hang it on these rods. Some of you guys might have seen me posting about that earlier in the year. We do the same thing with winter squash and summer squash, like zucchini. Yeah, so this is
that's one whole piece, like one whole squash right there.
Yep, exactly. And it's fantastic. We'll just basically take a pair of scissors, and this wild rice dish, if for instance, if you were a vegan and you didn't want to put turkey in here, some squash would be amazing. And dried squash has a wonderful texture. So you could just reconstitute this in just a little bit of water in a cast iron pan, and let it soften, and then add your ingredients on top of that. But dried squash has so much, it's so useful. Look at this, think about how much space a squash takes up in your house, and how little space a dried squash takes up, so it's really nice to have that around. And it's delicious too. You can put it in soups and stews and everything.
That's wonderful. Hey, so I just want to remind everyone that's commenting, we will be sharing a lot of these resources. We'll be repeating the names for the wild rice, for the acorns, acorn oil, and also Linda will be sharing the recipe, which we'll be posting to give y'all a little bit more of an idea of what's being shared. Sis, I know that we're getting to our 15-minute warning here, and so I want to offer you this space to also kind of share anything else that you want to, and then also invite anybody. We'll take maybe about 5 questions at the end if anybody has any.
Awesome. So I think I would just say that whether you're native or non-native, food sovereignty is important to everyone, and Indigenous food sovereignty should be important to you whether you're Indigenous or not, because the health and survival of Indigenous people is very, very connected to food, of course, and the land. And but we should really be aware, especially this time of year, we should be very aware to never food shame anybody. If you know someone who doesn't have enough food, or perhaps that they have a habit of eating a lot of ramen noodles, don't ever tell someone to eliminate anything from their diet, because that means that you come from a place of privilege and that you don't have to eat all the ramen noodles in a box. And you don't know, you probably don't know their story. So instead of doing that, And mind you, okay, you're talking to a woman here who used to be super mean about fry bread. I call fry bread the food of the oppressor, and like even though people have such an emotional connection to fry bread, I used to be I used to be really mean about it. And we we only have fry bread in our house now a couple times a year because of that. But now, instead of doing that, what I say to people are like, oh, you're eating fry bread. Have you ever tried doing half of your regular flour and half acorn flour? Have you ever tried doing tipsila flour in your fry bread to see like what kind of texture that creates? We talk, instead of telling people to eliminate things from their diet, we try to talk about adding amazing things into their diet instead, amazing traditional foods. So it's awesome. I've a fry bread, not rye bread. Fried bread.
Rye bread is also the food of the oppressor.
That's also real. I have a question. So one that actually just popped up on my text message, and it was just asking, like, how do the Black Elks feel about the upcoming celebrations next week? What I guess is like y'all's opinion on how did the Black Elks handle that, annually? And also, do y'all have any words in regards to, I guess, the rising cases and like where y'all are, and any thoughts that you have that you want to share on that?
Go ahead, dear.
Stay home. Don't gather. As far as what's going on locally and nationally, I think that it's really important that we all gather in over Zoom or in some other manner and find some way to do it. I know it's really important to Indians to get together, and even though we've never been big celebrators of next week, we always take advantage of the time to get together, and we don't always do it on the day, but we love turkey, and we for some reason they only sell turkeys this time of year,
Here, it's
even
true.
though we would eat them anytime. So.
And we do love wild turkey as well. I'm talking about the animal, not the drink. But we do. We do. So like but even this time of year is when they really come out. And we try to hit them with our card just right. No, I'm just kidding. We don't. No, I don't want to get letters.
Again.
I do. They don't. They taught me how, but they don't do it anymore. They're reformed turkey hitters.
Yeah, we so like the thing is, we have a lot of friends who are have sort of changed even the name of the day next week. People are talking about truths taking, and people are talking about truths giving, or thanks taking, or friends giving. There's all kinds of terms that people are using, and I think what it comes down to is that we can and should always be celebrating Indigenous foods and Indigenous people. And the truth about that holiday is total bullshit. And we need to make sure that our friends and our community all know the truth of that they know what it really means. And I loved, for instance, the Seeding Sovereignty post on food colonization and talking about the Wampanoag people and the impact that the crazy over harvesting of pilgrims had on their foodways and culture. And talking about that is so important. And spreading the myth and the lie even to your young children of the pilgrims and Indians sitting down for this nice meal without talking about the genocide and the violence and the rape of the land is not right. Don't even start that stuff with your kids. The truth is important. So that's probably our opinion, our take on it. But we eat this kind of food all the time. So
yeah, I know people say like Turkey Day is next week, and I'm like, no, I kind of eat turkey like all the time.
Yes.
I'm a really bad driver, so
yeah, we've hunted a few deer with our car as well in the past. So what were you gonna say?
What's
there?
this wee stuff?
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, so I just want to, I guess, open it up. We have 10 minutes. If there's any questions that folks want to ask Luke or Linda, you can feel free to drop them in the comments now. Otherwise, I guess you'll just listen to our hearty banter and stare at our smiling, greasy Indian faces.
I know.
And
I'm like, damn, that light. Fuck.
I know I was in the other room and there was no light, and then I came out here and I'm like, oh my God, don't look at me.
It's even hard for me to see. I
No.
swear to God.
No, y'all are so good though. I'm so grateful that you know, shared some of this with us. Maybe you can, until we have a couple of questions here that are more specific outside of the ones that I got, maybe you can just, and again, I'll be posting this for everyone, but just so they can hear you, if there's any places that they can connect to further support your elder care kits. I just saw somebody ask if there are any books that you recommend on food sovereignty or food. And I guess the very last thing is just anything else that you want to shout out that we can support or amplify to better help the work that y'all are doing. And yeah, I think that we'll go from there right now.
Okay. Well, are there any books you recommend?
None that I can remember off the top of my head.
He's an avid reader, so well, I will say, if you are interested in traditional recipes using only indigenous foods, Sean Sherman does have a wonderful cookbook, the Sous Chef Cookbook. It's kind of hard to access some of the ingredients in there, so you know, I think that part of the, you know, probably something that I'd like to say is that part of the journey of decolonizing your diet and getting back to traditional foods, it's not that you have to eliminate everything that's colonized right away, right? Don't shame yourself out either. I eat my fair share of bacon and kamad cheese, right? Black cheese. I love that shit. But I think that the point is to try to move in that direction. It's a journey. So if you're interested in those recipes, they can at least inspire you and give you some ideas. Also, The River is in Us is by Elizabeth Hoover. And it's a wonderful book on the Mohawk people's fight against the rape of the land, and the fossil fuels industry in particular. Oh my gosh. The Science of the Sacred, wonderful book by Nicole Redvers. She's an Indigenous woman, I think from Northern Canada. I'm so-called Canada. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of her tribe off the top of my head, but she's a wonderful naturopathic doctor, and her Redvers, Redvars, is a wonderful book. Gosh, I know that I could probably, of course, I always recommend, if you're interested in Indigenous science and Indigenous ways of knowing and understanding the world, food sovereignty in particular, Indigenous Methodologies, I believe is the name of her book. Her name is Linda Smith. She's a Maori woman. Yeah, those, I guess, are a few that I would personally recommend off the top of my head. And Liz, actually, Elizabeth Hoover has a book on food sovereignty coming out soon as well. I
have one question that came in.
Yep.
And they were just, I guess, multiple questions, but just, you know, what can non-natives do to support food sovereignty work? And also, you know, what should folks, or what could they be doing in place of next week, you know, the holiday? And last thing, is bare root something that could be planted, or does it have to be found?
So I do know people that cultivate bare root, and you know, but I know that it takes a lot. Normally it's only found at like 6,000 feet or above. So it's something that's found in the mountains. So I don't know if you're at a lower elevation. I have no idea if you'd be able to cultivate it or not. If you are interested in supporting Indigenous food sovereignty, please check out the Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance. Check out the Indian Ag Council. check out, you can check me out on Facebook. And if you're interested in supporting our food kits, as I was saying earlier, we're making these amazing food kits for elders that we drive all over, you know, thousands and thousands of square miles. And I say that they're amazing, not to brag, but oh my gosh, we put wild rice in there. We put,
you have to tell about what you put them in. To like, it's not just like a basket of food.
You want to grab one real quick? We have some out in the van because we have to make some deliveries, but yeah, we have, these are 18-gallon totes, you guys. It's enough food to last someone for a really long time. And it's not just, you know, we're not just putting, we have been putting, so they come in, I can't even get that on camera, it's so big.
Yeah, no,
we put them in one of these. And we put wild rice in there, like I was saying. We put hominy that we get from Indigenous producers, wild rice from Indigenous producers, beans that we get from Indigenous producers, beautiful beans. We put dried fruit in there. We put dried vegetables in there, dried vegetable soup mixes that have no preservatives, all from native producers. We've been putting freeze-dried and dried dehydrated vegetables in there. We put
sugar, maple syrup.
Oh yeah, maple sugar and maple syrup, for all from native producers. People love the maple sugar.
Mildly.
I know somebody gave me like the little maple sugar. My friend Delaney gave me like the maple sugar like candies, and like gave me like a full like bag of them. And I was like driving home, like, don't reach in that bag right now. It's like a never ending ride and you can't crash halfway home.
The cranberry sauce. Yeah, so we no, that's the thing about maple sugar, is that we've even been using that in all of our cooking. So if any of you love it, right now is the time to get cranberries. And as I said, please try to get organic cranberries. But you know, we even put try to put homemade stuff into our food kits. Like we put our own freshly grated horseradish in there. Horseradish, of course, is great, a great expectorant. You know, when you eat it, your eyes and your nose water. It's great also for the lungs and loosening that stuff up. But like we can our own cranberries as well. And these cranberries have only organic cranberries, organic oranges, and maple sugar. That's all these are. So I ask you guys, don't buy that stuff from a can. First of all, you're supporting an industry that is really abusing the cranberries, even though I know it's become very popular recently because of certain TikTok videos. Yeah. But please try to buy organic cranberries and make your own cranberry sauce. But if you want to support, it's so easy. If you want to support our food kits, you can Venmo me directly. We're not doing this through some big organization. It's literally my husband and I filling our house full of Indigenous foods, making these kits because we don't want to come in contact with people, because we want to keep these elders that we're delivering this food to, we want to keep them safe. So we do extreme social isolation. Even our teenagers can't go visit their friends and haven't since March, you know? So because they want to keep the elders safe as well. Standing Rock and Cheyenne River have lost numerous fluent speakers just in the past month. It's something that we're totally crazy over. So if you want to support the food kits, my Venmo is at Linda Black Elk, all one word. And my PayPal email is linda.black.elk@gmail.com. And anything helps. Absolutely anything helps. We can do, you guys would be amazed at what we can do with $5. So anything really helps. And our elders are hungry right now, and a lot of them you know, don't want to go to the grocery store. But we also, of course, provide, if someone who is not an elder needs food, we provide for them as well. So yeah, we'd really appreciate any support.
Probably
awesome.
There's probably also Indigenous communities close to people that they can reach out to directly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be cognizant of y'all's time and space that you've shared with us, I am going to conclude the questions for everyone that's commenting now. But we will be putting all of this information, the recommendations that Luke and Linda have made, how y'all can make donations to them directly to support the elder care food kits, and also places that you can go just to follow and listen to Linda and Luke speak all the time and share what they have and the knowledge that they've shared, mostly Linda. And it's okay because we all sit in awe. But I'm so happy I just got to spend an hour with you. It's been so long since I've gotten to see you in person. And I'm so grateful that you shared with all of us. Y'all are the best, and we're so grateful for you. And we'll be sharing the recipes and everything shortly. So give us a moment, y'all that are watching, and we'll share that soon. Sis, Luke, do you have anything that you want to share?
I truly love you. Like, I have true and honest love for you. And I'm so happy that you're in my life and that you're my sister. Thank you so much for having us on. And thank you to everyone for watching us for this long.
Yeah, we love you. Give everybody a hug for me, okay?
I will. Love you.
All right.
You.
Love
See
you
you guys.
too.
Doksha.
Doksha.